Hey, everybody, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And I'm very pleased to have with us today Robert Gerstmann, who's the chief evangelist and co founder of Sinch. Robert, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
Well, we're going to be talking about Apple adopting RCS in the fall, and we're going to find out what Sinch's take is on RCS and how they're going to be helping their clients and their point of view. Robert, as I just said, we have interviewed you guys in the past, but it's usually in connection with telecoms. It's usually in connection with enterprise and also teams. So this time we're talking about a nice fresh topic, which is great. You're the co-founder of Sinch. Can you just give me a little bit of background? I think a lot of people know what Sinch is, but just a quick background on Sinch and yourself.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll start with myself. Robert Gerstmann, as you said, one of 6 co-founders actually of Sinch. We founded the company back in 2008. So this is year 16 of our journey. We are a Swedish-based company, but operate in 60 countries all over the world. The US is by far our biggest market these days. And we pioneer the way the world communicates. So essentially, we have a cloud platform that communicate through SMS, WhatsApp, RCS, email, voice, etc., with their customers. So we enable, almost 1 trillion interactions every year between businesses and consumers.
So, what differentiates Sinch in from other companies in this messaging space?
I think there are a couple of things. I think we are one of the biggest platforms, so scale is clearly one. We have a very strong backend network to all the mobile operators. On the email side, the inbox providers, and more recently to Google for RCS and to Meta for WhatsApp. So a very, very strong backend network. As I mentioned, we have people on the ground in over 60 countries. That very, very few companies have that reach. And I would also say, a very complete stack all the way from, network connectivity all the way up to applications and AI-powered bots to facilitate for businesses to engage with their customers over kind of messaging, voice, and email.
So tell me about RCS. Why is it significant? And also maybe define it a little bit too.
Sure. One definition would be SMS 2.0. So SMS has been I would almost say, standard for business to consumer communications on messaging on the mobile handset for 20 years now. And it's truly global. Now that's getting an update. Google and the whole Android side of the world have been pushing this for a number of years. But then the new thing is that Apple now is also going to support the standard as of iOS 18 here in September. So think about a normal text message essentially only supports 160 character text. Whereas if you look at iMessage today, you can send audio and video and pictures. RCS means that any messaging experience, regardless if you have an iPhone or an Android device, will have that richness. So that's the big thing for the consumers. And so things that are enabled through the advent of RCS across all major operating systems are things like group chat won't break anymore, where you have people on iPhone and Android. If you send pictures across different operating systems, they will retain their quality. And things like read receipts will be supported. So you actually know if the person you sent it to read your message. So that's on the consumer side. And then on the business side, again, you get, instead of only being able to send a text message, you can now send rich media as a business to consumers. That's a huge change. Again, the read receipts, very important, especially if you do, let's say, marketing. Did the marketing message not only get delivered to the handset, as you will know on SMS, but actually read by the consumer? And then RCS is conversational by nature. It's very easy to enable a two-way conversation. Now, this happens to an extent on SMS, especially in the US, but in many places of the world, for various reasons, technical and commercial, it doesn't really work on SMS. So SMS is largely a one-way medium, whereas RCS is a two-way medium. And that opens up a whole slew of new use cases that businesses can support and kind of delight their customers.
So what is Sinch doing there with this change happening? What are you introducing to the market?
So what we're doing is we have what we call our super network, basically a network of networks. We connect to every mobile operator on the planet for SMS today and for voice. Now we're adding RCS as well to that portfolio. So if a business wants to communicate using RCS or enable for users to reach out to them via RCS, we will support that. So that's kind of the connectivity layer, which is the foundation for this. And then on top of that, we then also add software to make it easier for the brand to consume and leverage RCS. Given it's two-way rather than just one way, it's very important that brands actually are able to handle the responses from the consumers. So what's happening here is that a notification, don't forget your doctor's appointment tomorrow, gets transformed into a conversation. You get the reminder, but then you realize, you can't make it. So you reply back to the brand saying, I need a different time. The brand comes back to you with maybe 3 options. You click on one of them, and all of a sudden you kind of reschedule that appointment instead of having to, call a contact center, for instance, and sit in line and wait and create cost for the brand. So it's really a win-win both for the brand and for the consumer. Handling that, though, is complex. So at Sinch, we provide software both to orchestrate those conversations and to automate them through using bots, which can handle, let's say, 60 to 80% of those standard conversations. Whereas the 20% where you still need a human agent, we then have software to hand that over to the contact center of the business. So that gives you a flavor of what Sinch is doing.
And let's stay with that for a second, because it sounds like you guys are kind of leveraging the RCS isn't just a change, right? That it's actually a step forward, and you're leveraging that.
100%. We firmly believe that as businesses see the power of RCS, we believe a lot of business to consumer communications that today happens over, SMS, over email, through contact centers, so over voice, and through apps, will actually gradually move into RCS because it's better UX and cheaper to run. So there's both a push and a pull factor for businesses to leverage RCS in their customer communications.
And inside that, is there, in a sense, kind of a value proposition?
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends on what your use case is. Is it a marketing use case to drive revenue, or is there a customer care use case to kind of make your customer experience better? It's a very wide variety of what these channels can be used for, because they're generic in a way. So depending on what your use case is, the value prop for the business looks quite different.
So it could be either way. It could be improve customer care. It could be revenue.
Yeah, 100%. So if you look at what people are using messaging for today, or pretty much any business to consumer communications, we divide it up into 4 broad sections. One is marketing or commerce. One is more service, like the appointment reminder, or you get the notification that your package is ready to be picked up from your local grocery store. And then the third one would be care. There's a problem, and the user reaches out to the business to get help. Those are 3. And then the fourth one would be kind of verification, somehow being able to prove that you are you, or at least that you are in possession of a phone number, which can be used for signing up, for logging in, or for customizing services. And those 4 use case categories can all be enhanced by the advent of RCS.
And that last one shouldn't be discounted, because we everybody now has the experience over text of getting a lot of spam. So getting a legitimate text, legitimate traffic saying it's time for your doctor appointment, it's time to pick up your groceries or whatever, I think that is significant.
And that's also another kind of benefit for RCS in the business to consumer context. Each brand goes through an onboarding process and is vetted by ultimately the mobile operator, who will permit that brand to send messages on their network. So instead of seeing a short code or a 10-digit long number like you have it in America, you will actually see the brand name there instead.
Right.
And as a consumer, you will even be able to click, see the logo, see contact details. So the risk of being defrauded as a consumer by a rogue actor is decreased.
Well, Robert, you've already been telling us a little bit about this, but are there additional sort of use cases, even case studies already with RCS?
I think we've covered the main kind of use cases, if you so will, but we already have a couple of early pioneers that have been using this. Since RCS has been available on Android handsets for a couple of years now. So for instance, we did some work with, it's a French retailer called Picard. They're basically a grocery retailer, and they had a whole what should I call it, an experience where people could ask, in a question and answer and kind of way, create a Christmas menu, and then ultimately even order it through the experience in the messaging, directly from the messaging flow. So brands are starting to do pretty cool things with this technology already.
And that's sort of it's interesting, right? Because when you invent something, like as sort of alluding to before, a lot of people go, "Oh no, another change I've got to adopt to," but people will come up with brand new things no one's thought of before, like what you just discussed.
No, this is true. And then the nice thing with RCS, to the contrary of many other things, RCS will be native to the handset. So it's essentially your messages app that you use today, which all of a sudden will turn into an RCS app. So there is no need for the consumer to do anything, which is a huge difference for most new technology that's being rolled out. This is already there. And from a brand perspective, the opt-ins that you had to run to communicate with people on SMS are still valid for RCS. So again, the brand doesn't need to re-opt in all of those, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of users that they're already communicating with.
So, in your opinion, and you've had a front row seat to this, does Apple's move this fall, is that game changing?
It is because again, taking the global view, in affluent markets, Apple is often more than 50% of the entire mobile population. So for a brand to leverage a channel, as it has been, not being able to use to reach 50% of the population, it makes it less interesting or even totally uninteresting. And remember, the Apple demographic is typically the most affluent in each country. Right. So the most valuable customers you can't reach. That's actually been the case for RCS, especially in North America, Western Europe so far. And that's really changing now.
So this step actually creates like a huge opportunity in a way.
It's a billion. Apple has about 1.4 billion subscribers or people having their handsets across the world that are all of a sudden coming into the RCS ecosystem. So yes, it is a fundamental change that will happen throughout the fall of 24 and then throughout 2025.
So Robert, as we wrap up our podcast today, what are the opportunities you anticipate this is going to be bringing your clients, bringing businesses that are using Sinch solutions?
So I'm most excited about the opportunity for businesses to delight their customers and really enhance their customer experiences. We see from these early programs that run over RCS that people are much more likely to engage with a brand through RCS than with comparable channels or traditional channels. So we did one comparison with SMS where people were 74% more likely to engage with the brand in question over RCS versus SMS. And that was kind of a side-by-side comparison. And so I think what excites me most, that's the thing, customer experience, because the brands who get customer experience right are the brands that will beat their competition. I think that's probably the most important competitive tool that brands have.
Robert, I really want to thank you for joining us today. This has been very interesting. We've been talking about RCS and Sinch. Where can we learn more about Sinch and your RCS solutions?
I think, Sinch.com, SINCH. I think that's where you want to go. And through there, you will easily be able to reach out to any one of our coworkers in depending on where you are in all of those 60 countries.
Well, Robert, again, I want to thank you again for joining me today. I'm looking forward to our next podcast on Sinch. But for now, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug.